It's really hard to know what to say about the news of Steve Wright's passing, except we are all absolutely devastated and shocked and blindsided by this news. Steve was an extraordinary broadcaster, a really, really kind person. He was witty, he was warm, and he was a huge, huge part of the Radio 2 family. And I know my fellow DJs will all be absolutely shattered too. And I imagine you're feeling sad too, and we are here for your messages. If you'd like to reach out, if you'd like to share your thoughts or memories about Steve, please do on 88291, because we've all lost a lovely friend who's been a big part of our lives for so many years. So we're going to try and do Steve proud for the rest of the show, and we're going to play the music that he loved so much.
I am a lineman for the county.
George Michael on Radio 2, A Careless Whisper. If you've just joined us, we're all just absolutely reeling following the passing of our really dear friend and colleague Steve Wright. You're sending some lovely messages in, thank you. I'm doing my best to muddle through till 7 o'clock with you. David in Hither Green says, devastated. Steve was such a joy to listen to. His knowledge, his passion for music was second to none. Such sad news. We all loved him. I hope he knew that we all loved him, because we really, really did. And he just didn't like a fuss, did he? Elizabeth says, heartbroken. I grew up with Steve in the afternoons and Sunday love songs. Yes, same. There are no words to describe how much his voice will be missed. And Mandy in Nottingham says, absolutely gutted. So sorry for you all, and sending you all love. Me and my mates went to see him in 1988 at the Black Orchid in Nottingham. I bet that was quite the gig. Let's play this. We'll play Quarter Flash and Harden My Heart. Lovely Anthony, who was his producer for many, many years, has joined us, and he's putting in all of Steve's favourite music. He knows his stuff, so we're just going to play great stuff till 7.
Breakdown at Haydock. They've moved it out of the way, but it's still slow. M60 anti-clock.
Oh, there, Bobbie.
The earlier accident is gone. The earlier breakdown, 17 to 16, has gone. Still big queues, though, back to the M62 and the
America with Sister Golden Hair. Bobbie's here, she's got your travel.
Thank you, Sarah. So first of all, the M8 on the westbound side, 3A for Bathgate, still partially blocked, really long delays by that earlier accident towards 4 at Whitburn, but you can get through just eventually. The A75 at Annan, we've got that closed both ways. Accident still being investigated between the Lockerbie turnoff and the East Riggs turnoff. There is again a diversion. M6 on Merseyside stretch northbound at 23. Now there was a breakdown at Haydock. They've moved it out of the way, but it's still slow. M60 anti-clockwise, the earlier breakdown 17 to 16 has gone. Still big queues though, back to the M62 and the M6 northbound. 2 for Coventry, 3 for Nuneaton. We've got still 2 lanes closed. Oh, sorry, this is much
You're
more
doing
difficult.
well.
Okay, we just bash on. Let's just do the M1 on the southbound side at 11. For Dunstable South, there was an accident. We've cleared it now. Steve would kill me for this if I was in tears.
Would.
And then finally, everybody, M25. If you're clockwise, 13 to 14. The earlier accident is gone, and you can now get through.
Oh, jeez. You did well there, Bobbie.
I just want to say, it's really difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really difficult, and we're all absolutely... we just had the stuffing knocked out of us, haven't we? If you've just joined us, I don't know if you've heard about the passing about our dear friend and colleague Steve Wright. So we're all a bit of a mess. What did you want to say about it?
Well, I mean, he gave so many people opportunities. He inspired most of us, and he'd be furious if we were crying now and make it such a fuss. So sorry about that, everyone. I will have more travel news for you in half an hour, and thanks for your messages coming through. So dearly missed. Such a great friend. M6 northbound 23 for Haydock. That breakdown's gone, but it's still slow. M6 northbound at 2 for Coventry to 3 at Nuneaton. We've got 2 lanes closed there because of a breakdown. And to the M1 southbound 23A for Derby. On the exit Slip Road, there's another breakdown. You can get past it though. Then to the M25, if you're anti-clockwise, 6 to Clackett lane services, all lanes are open following that spillage and blockage. Just to tell you, back of the queue there was 9 for Leatherhead, but all lanes are reopened. And the M3 on the northbound side at 3 for Lightwater. Exit Slit Road, we've got a breakdown, so we've got 1 lane shut, so it's really slow through that stretch. And just an update at Maysmore, A417, we've got it closed both ways between the A40 over roundabout and Colworth because of that flooding. Back with another one for you, half an hour's time, Sarah.
Bobbie, thank you very much. Now, I did say if you could play a song, what song would you go for and why? So you've chosen Christy Moore and Ride On.
Well, the thing is with Steve, there's a huge sense of humour. There's so many songs that used to make us laugh. But he had a thing about Christy Moore, the folk singer, a real connection, a real vulnerability and sensitivity with Christy Moore's work that he didn't often show it, but he really loved Christy Moore and he always used to play Ride On.
And there was a gig.
Oh, the gig he tried to get to.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of those things we know when you go, we need to see this gig. We need to try and get this. So we did try. Yeah. And then, of course, a big pandemic happened. So we never got to see Christy Moore live, which is a great shame. So if you're on a list to go and see gigs, go see them as quick as you can.
Okay, well, we'll play it now. Christy Moore and Ride On, lovely choice. It's a beautiful song,
It
Bobbie.
is.
Thanks so much. We're here till 7 o'clock and then Joe will be here. If you want to get in touch, as ever, we're here on 88291. Andy and Sue in Hereford have been on, saying we're so sad to hear of Steve's passing. He formed the fabric of my radio life, always happy, always kind with his words and always entertaining when singing along at the end of every song he played. Me and Ben were chuckling about that on Sunday because he did it on Love Songs. A true great. He will be leaving a huge gap in so many people's lives. R.I.P. Wrighty. Andy, Sue, thank you.
BBC News at 6 o'clock. This is Mike Powell. One of the UK's greatest broadcasters, Steve Wright, has died suddenly at the age of 69. Steve Wright hosted shows on the BBC for more than 40 years, joining Radio 2 in 1996. He was last on air on Sunday, hosting a pre-recorded special Valentine's Day edition of his Love Songs programme. His fellow presenter, Jeremy Vine, said his death had come as a complete shock to everyone at Radio 2.
He was such an incredible professional. He was such a lovely man. He was lovely to every single person, the security guard on the door, the director general. He treated them all the same. He was so encouraging to the next generation of presenters who came in, people like me who hadn't got a clue. He was so generous with his time, his hospitality, and he was such a large character, such a huge figure in British radio. I am still processing this and I cannot believe it. That cheerful voice is gone, and there are so many people who will feel this loss.
The BBC's Director General, Tim Davie, said that Steve Wright was the ultimate professional who was deeply in touch with his listeners. Radio 2's controller, Helen Thomas, called him quite simply a broadcasting legend. The Radio 2 presenter, Tony Blackburn, said Steve Wright was the DJ's DJ.
He was just a one-off. I loved his radio programmes. He, like me, just had a deep love of radio. And he will be very, very sadly missed. I will miss him very, very much indeed, and I think the audience will miss him a lot. He was a genuinely wonderful broadcaster. You know, he did make a lot of people very happy, including me.
Joshua Caddison and Jesse, Steve would always say, I wonder how Moses the Cat's getting on, just before he'd play that. Well, I'll never forget this show. Thank you so much for being there with me. Joe is on the way. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow from 4.
This is Radio 2.
BBC News, it's 3 minutes past 7.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the show this evening. It's obviously a very different show tonight. I'll talk more the other side of this. We're going to play a bunch of songs this evening that Steve Wright loved, and songs that you remember him playing, things that you associate with him. If you would like to get in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you tonight. But we'll kick things off with this from Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross and Never Too Much. It is Radio 2. It's Joe with you until 9 o'clock tonight. And a very strange show to be doing. It's extremely hard to know what to say and to be talking about someone that you saw only days ago in this very studio where I am right now. Doing a tribute show to that person just does not feel right. It's very hard to find the words to say and to talk about someone in the past tense when it's someone that you wish was very much still here. So it's tough. The Radio 2 family are devastated. There have been many tears. Everyone, as you can imagine, we've all worked with Steve Wright for years and years and years, and it's just very difficult to take in that he's no longer here. So I'm sure a lot of you will be reeling yourselves, and you'll perhaps be thinking about the times that you've listened. I mean, Steve was a soundtrack to our lives, wasn't he? He was, I think, Richard, who worked with him years ago, said that Steve once said that he was radio, and I think that could not be closer to the truth. He lived for radio, and the fact that he died, but his show went out just the other day is just like the way he would have wanted it to be, of course. So I would love to hear from you, please, about moments that you associate, songs that you associate with Steve Wright, and we'll do our best to put them in the show over the next 2 hours. 88291 is a text, as you know, that's 88291, and joe.wiley@bbc.co.uk. We'll talk a lot more about Wrighty, but first of all, let's play the music.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight, and I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And I think it's gonna be a long...
Elton John and Rocket Man, and I think it's going to be a long, long time. I know so many of you are processing the fact that we've lost this legend. I mean, what a titan of broadcasting. There is nobody, I can tell you now, nobody who cared more about what came out of the speakers that you listened to and the shows that he made for you, that he crafted for you, and he really did craft those shows, than Steve Wright. Honestly, he cared so deeply. We were here last Thursday and we were at Maida Vale, and you will have heard us all talking about how we've had to leave Wogan House, named after another legend, but we had to leave there. We're moving on to our new premises, and Steve loved Maida Vale. He came here quite a long time ago, and this was his safe place, his happy place, and saw him last Thursday. And he was like, oh, it's great here, isn't it? I love it here. And he was making his love song show that you will have listened to over the weekend. And he just cared about every single word, every song that you listened to, everything that he said to you. He just was so passionate about it. And that's why he was just the broadcaster's broadcaster. You know, we all looked up to Steve. And I remember coming to Radio 2 in the very beginning and feeling like, you know, I didn't know anybody. I felt really out of place, really kind of shy. And he made a point of coming up and sitting by my desk so many times just to chat, just to talk, just to be a friend. And that's what he really was. He was the kindest person that you would ever meet. And he made me feel very welcome at Radio 2. And I'll always be so grateful. He was supportive all the way through the time I've been here at Radio 2. Always knew what was going on, always cared and always wanted to make me feel good about things. And he also wanted to talk about new music too. He loved new music, and he'd listen to stuff that we played in the evenings on the radio, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I'll try and get that on my show, and he'll play them as well. So he was very, very passionate about all the music that you heard on his shows. I know a lot of people are now getting in touch, and it's really, really lovely to hear from you. And you're requesting songs, and we're going to try and play as many as we can between now and 9 o'clock. This is an artist that he loved with a passion. This is Harry Styles, and also what a great sentiment too.